Okay, so we're going to talk quick tips for making the quick zip bag that we're using for the Ukrainian fundraiser. I have a fat quarter, which came in your kit. I cut the selvage end off. If there's a selvage end on it, go ahead and cut it off. If there's not, don't worry about it. I've cut off one end, this end of the fat quarter, the size that the pattern calls for making the handle. Then I've got a piece of two-sided fusible fleece. This is about an inch wider than you actually need it to be. What's in your kit is the size that the pattern calls for, but if you cut about an inch off, it'll fit in here a little bit better. Because what you're going to do is you're going to take your fat quarter and you're going to fold it in half. Okay? And then you're going to fuse both sides. So you're going to fuse the batting to both sides of your fabric, and then we're going to quilt it. Now, a couple of tips when you're fusing this fusible fleece onto your fabric. I like to press it to one side. I'll go ahead and close the fabric and press it just so that I don't get any sticky on my iron. But I'll fuse one side and then I'll flip it over and make sure that when I fold the fabric up, that the batting is filling the edge here. So if I run my finger along the fold, I can feel like right here, it's a little bit, I can feel that there's no batting in between there. So I will just kind of pull it up again. So just make sure that when you flatten the second side, make sure that you have batting that runs all the way to the very edge of your fold. Then go ahead and press this. The best way to get this fusible fleece to stick is to press it with a hot iron and then hit it with some steam. The steam permeates the polyester, so it'll stick better. Now I've just used my cutting ruler and a chalk marker to mark a straight line down the middle of my pouch body. If you're okay and you're comfortable with then quilting just based off this one line, you can stitch this line and then you can stitch lines going out and going this way and do a grid based on the feed or the markings on your machine. Or if that makes you a little nervous, you can just take your ruler and line your ruler up with that line, and then you can mark all the lines you want to stitch. If that makes you more comfortable, then do that. There's no wrong answer. It doesn't take that long to mark with these chalk pens. They work really well. So you can mark as many lines as you want to quilt, or you can mark one and you can use the feed on your machine to quilt it. When you go to quilt this, I strongly suggest you start from the fold, stitch up, turn around, come back down, turn around, go back up. And do that at least on one side before you start going the other way. If you start here and stitch up and then come back and start here and stitch up and do that the whole time, what you're going to end up with is a bow in the bottom. It's not going to be straight. The bottom part's going to pull up as the feed dogs move the fabric. So sew from here to here and turn around and come back, and turn around and come back. If you want to play with your free motion, this is a really good time to do that because you only have this much surface area to quilt on. This is a really good time to play with free motion quilting if you want to do that. I'm going to quilt this real quick and I'll be right back. So I have my piece all quilted. You'll notice that there's a little bit of fullness in the quilting spaces. That's okay. Take this back to your iron, hit it with some steam again, and this will come out flat as a pancake. You'll also notice that I increased my stitch length from 2.5 to 3 because I feel like it gives the quilting a little bit more natural appearance. And now we're going to trim this down to the size that the pattern tells us to and move on to the next step. We are going to put a zipper on. I know it freaks you out. It'll be okay. I've taken a piece of Quilter Select Aplastic tape and put it along about the width of the pouch on the right side of my zipper. Then I'm going to peel this tape off. Then it's going to be sticky again. I'm going to stick it on to my fabric. Okay, hang on. So now what I have is a sticky-sided web, and it's sticky, see? I'm going to stick that to the edge of my fabric. You can iron it at this point or not. It's up to you. If you want to really be secure in the fact that your zipper is not going to move, take this to your iron and fuse it down, okay? Make sure that your zipper is upside down and that your zipper pull is off the fabric. Make sure your zipper pull is off the fabric and the end of your zipper is off the fabric. If your zipper is crazy too long, it's okay because we're going to trim it down, okay? So we're going to put this together and then we're going to sew along here. If you have a zipper foot, great. If you don't, you can use your regular J-foot and adjust your needle so that, see how there's that little line right there on the back of the tape? you try to aim between that little line and the edge of your teeth, which are right there. If that freaks you out trying to aim between those two, it's okay to stitch right on that line. It gives you a kind of a place to shoot for. Now we've sewn this on. I trimmed away just the extra fabric, and we still have the sticky stuff on our tape, which is helpful for this step because I'm going to pull the zipper around to the back side. You can press it again to reactivate that sticky, and we're going to stick this down. Then you flip this over and you top stitch right next to your zipper. What that does is it encases the raw edge of your fabric right here. So you can just straight stitch it about that far away. You want to catch the zipper tape and the fabric. That's going to secure all of this. If you want to get fancy, you can do some decorative stitches. You can just straight stitch it. You can stitch it any way you like. For ease of demonstration, I just chose to top stitch along that edge. So see how I have caught the tape in both ends, and now that's nice and secure, and the edge of our fabric is all caught up inside that tape and it won't unravel now. So look, your zipper is half in. The next thing I'm going to do is show you a really quick way to, you can just sort of embellish this. So if you want to embellish your bag, you can do that now. I have a bit of bright orange Sunflower Batik. I'm just going to make a bias tape with this, like a 1-inch bias tape, and stitch it onto my bag as an embellishment. You can use a ribbon, you can use bits of fabric like this, you could use pom-poms, you could use leftover random hexagons from an English paper piecing project. You can do anything you like here, or you can do nothing at all. That's perfectly fine. So we've done the same thing with the other side of our zipper tape. I've put my fusible tape down. I'm going to take this end of the bag. So we're looking at the front side of our bag. Here's our accent strip. And we're going to take this end and fold it up. Make sure you match your sides really nicely and everything's nice and flush. This should be flush with the zipper tape. Both of the sides should be completely flush on the sides. We're going to stitch this just like we did the first time. We're going to trim it, and then we're going to flip it. So I've trimmed away my extra bit of fabric. See, there's my sticky tape again. This is why you have a nice long zipper, because you can unzip this. Sorry about the shaky camera. You can unzip it and lay it flat. And then you can flip this around like you did before, where we flipped this under and top stitched everything. Okay, so I've still got my sticky tape on there. So I'm going to iron that and stick it down. I'm going to top stitch it just like I did on this side. Now a couple of tips when you're making the wrist loop. The directions tell you exactly where to fold and how to fold. My biggest tip when you're making something that's like bias tape is steam. And once the steam is gone, spray it with some flatter and then press it again, and look at how crisp and sharp this is. So these are my sides that are folded in. We're going to fold it in half one more time, and then we're going to top stitch this. Okay, so now we have our zipper put in both sides. We are going to take our bag and we're going to lay it flat on the table. The zipper is going to sit kind of like that, with about 1 inch above the zipper folded over. Okay, this part's kind of important when you put the handle in. The handle needs to go on the side where the zipper pull is. So see how my zipper is shut and the zipper pull is here? The handle needs to go like this, but on the inside. Okay, we're also going to hang it over the edge. Don't be like me. Make your zipper a little bit more centered. It'll make this step easier. We're going to take this and we're going to slide it inside of our pouch, and we're going to line that up so that there's about 1 inch hanging over the end. Okay, and we're going to put that all together. I like to use clover clips to hold this together because there's a lot of bulk. You can also use magnets. Make sure your zipper is closed for this step, but this part is important. We're going to hold this all together, and we're going to sew the other end. Now make sure your handle is not sticking into the seam. Make sure your handle is tucked up in there, and make sure that this is all pressed flat. We're going to sew this seam shut. You're going to sew right through these teeth. I suggest you backstitch a little bit to really secure that part. So we're going to sew this side shut, and then we're going to come to the other side. Now I've backstitched at the beginning and at the end, and I have also backstitched a couple times over my teeth. take some scissors, not your good fancy ones, and cut the rest of this zipper off. Just clip it off. The teeth are plastic. You'll cut right through it. Just don't use scissors that you're worried about. Okay, so we're going to throw that away. If you have a serger, you can run this through your serger. If you don't have a serger, there is a stitch on your machine, probably. Every machine has a zigzag stitch, so you can use a zigzag stitch. You can also use what's called an overlock stitch, which looks like, oh, where is she? Which stitches to the very end of your fabric. And it almost mimics a serger, so that it stitches right to the edge of your fabric. And I will find it, hang on. So this stitch here, see how it has a straight line and a zigzag? You can use an overlock foot. That actually lets the thread run over the edge. And I will show you what that foot looks like. This foot right here. I know it looks like an edge stitching foot or a stitch in the ditch foot. It's not quite. See that little bar in the middle? That lets the zigzag thread run off the back of your foot. See how it's open there? I'm going to show you how that works. So you're going to take the edge of your fabric here and you're going to run it right along the lip on the foot. And the stitches are actually going to stitch over that little bar and off the edge of your fabric. So it's not cutting the fabric. It's not quite working exactly like a serger, but it'll do in a pinch. Just in case you didn't know what that foot was, now you do. So now we have what kind of looks like an overlock stitch along the edge of our fabric. Isn't that cool? All right, now we're going to do the other side. This part is very important. Open your zipper. If you stitch this shut and your zipper pull is on this side, you're not going to be happy. So open your zipper as far away as you can get it, and then we're gonna sew this side shut too. Notice I've got my handle pinned in here. Make sure that you don't do that overlock stitch with your pin in the way. So what I would do is slide this open, we're going to stitch it shut, and then we're going to go back with our overlock and stitch the edge. So now this is what our zipper pouch looks like. We've overcast stitched both the sides. Our zipper is open. We're just going to pull it right way out. So I took my point turner, I poked my 4 corners out. Here's my fancy strip on the back. You can put that on the back or on the front, however you want it to be. And I've got my nice little wrist guard. So now you are all set to make zipper pouches and stuff full for a good cause. Thanks, guys.